Okay, so imagine Miami for a second. Just close your eyes. What's the first thing you see?
South Beach.
Hmm.
Neon lights.
Totally. You're thinking Art Deco hotels, maybe some, high-gloss club music thumping out of a convertible. It's the Will Smith version of Miami, right?
It is. It's the tourist brochure version for sure.
Exactly. But underneath all that polished, humid surface, there's always been this gritty, sweating, hustling underground scene.
Hmm.
And sitting right at that chaotic intersection of hip-hop, rock, and just pure DIY adrenaline is the group we're talking about today. We are talking about Mayday.
A perfect storm of a band. And honestly, what we're looking at today, it isn't just a biography of a group. I think we should frame this a little differently.
Okay.
This is basically a business case study.
A case study.
Absolutely. It's a case study in adaptation. If you look at the sources we have, tracking their journey from 2003 all the way through 2025,
Yeah.
you see a blueprint for how to survive in an industry that is like actively trying to make you obsolete.
I love that angle because looking at this, the thing that just jumps out at me is that these guys were going viral before viral was even really a buzzword.
Yes. They were content creators before we had a name for it.
Right.
They navigated the death of the CD, the birth of YouTube, major label deals, independent powerhouses, and then, eventually the shift to the creator economy where they just bet everything on themselves.
So let's unpack it. The story starts in Miami, 2003. You've got two guys, Bernz and Plex Luthor.
Right.
They form the group, and right out of the gate, they make a decision that on paper looks kind of terrible.
Which was what?
They decided to blend hip-hop with rock.
Ah, yes. The dreaded rap rock stigma.
Exactly. In the early 2000s, that was a minefield. You had Linkin Park on one side, but you also had a lot of really questionable stuff on the other. It was risky.
Very risky. You could easily get dismissed as, cheesy. But they didn't approach it like a pop act. They came at it with this really specific underground ethos. They weren't trying to get on TRL. They were trying to make something that sounded like the humidity of Miami.
And this is where it gets really interesting. We have to talk about Groundhog Day. This is 2006.
And context is king here. 2006.
YouTube is what? A toddler? It launched in 2005.
Barely. There's no iPhone yet, no Instagram. If you wanted to watch a video online, you were probably sitting at a desktop computer waiting for it to buffer.
So, Mayday releases this music video for their single Groundhog Day. It features Cee-Lo Green, directed by a guy named Jokes. And the sources say that within one day of being added to YouTube, it got over 2 million views.
Okay, let's just pause right there. I need you to really, really understand that number.
Yeah.
2 million views.
In 24 hours?
In 24 hours.
Yeah.
In 2006.
It sounds like a typo.
It's astronomical. Today, if you get 2 million views, it's usually because an algorithm on TikTok or Shorts pushed it into people's feeds.
It's passive.
It's passive consumption. But back then, there was no algorithm like that.
How?
That's the point. It was manual. It was word of mouth. That means 2 million people had to physically copy a link, paste it in an email or an instant messenger, and send it to a friend saying, you have to see this.
Wow.
That is a level of organic engagement that marketers would kill for today. It immediately marked them as pioneers of digital traction. They got the internet's visual power before most major labels even knew how to monetize a download.
It's just insane numbers for that era, and they didn't waste that momentum. They released their first self-titled album that same year, September 2006, and they followed up Groundhog Day with another hit called Quicksand.
Which was crucial, because Quicksand is what got them out of the garage and into the boardroom, so to speak.
Okay.
That track earned them a deal with South Beat Records. It moved them from internet sensation to signed recording artists.
So they prove the model, build the hype yourself, and the industry will come find you. But, and this becomes a theme with them, they didn't just sit back and let the label do the work. They kept expanding. By 2009, the band had grown into like a 6-person lineup.
Right. They added Wrekonize on vocals and production, NonMS on percussion, plus a drummer and a bassist.
And that evolution is so important for their longevity, right?
Right.
By adding live instruments, they could tour like a rock band.
A lot of hip-hop acts back then were just an MC and a DJ pressing play on a laptop.
Which is fine, but it limits where you can perform.
Right. Mayday could play rock festivals, they could jam, they could improvise. It gives them so much versatility. But frankly, the most brilliant move they made came in 2010.
Oh, I love this part. This is the definition of guerrilla marketing.
It really is.
So picture the landscape in 2010. The music blog era is at its absolute peak. And who is the king of the world?
Lil Wayne. Undisputed.
Lil Wayne is arguably the biggest rapper on the planet, and Mayday decides, hey, we want to work with him.
But the normal route is call your manager, who calls his manager, who asks for $100 grand for a feature.
Which, as an indie band, you do not have. So they just didn't ask.
Hmm.
They literally went up to the roof of a building in downtown Miami in the middle of the day. They set up all their gear amps, drums, mics, and they filmed unofficial music videos for 2 Lil Wayne songs.
Da-da-da-da, and get a life.
Yep. And because they were a full band playing loud on a rooftop, it looked like a free concert.
The spectators started gathering on the street. People were looking out of their office windows. It created this whole scene.
It wasn't just a cover song, it was a spectacle.
It's such a gutsy move. We're just going to play your songs on a roof until you notice us.
And the payoff, it actually worked.
It did. It's a prime example of forcing the door open. That stunt led to the Lords of the Fly mixtape, which had remixes of those Lil Wayne tracks. It wasn't just for attention. It was a lead-in to their next album, Stuck on an Island.
They leveraged the fame of a superstar to shine a spotlight on their own work without waiting for permission.
Talk about manufacturing your own luck.
At that hustle, it caught the eye of another giant in the independent rap world, Tech N9ne.
This is the pivotal moment. Early 2011, Tech N9ne reaches out. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, we probably need to explain Strange Music.
Yeah, give us the breakdown, because it's not just a standard label.
No, Strange Music is an ecosystem. Tech N9ne built one of the most successful independent labels in history by completely ignoring radio and focusing on touring and merch. It's a cult following.
A real tribe.
It's a tribe, yeah. And it was a perfect cultural fit for Mayday because they already had that road warrior mentality.
So Tech features them on his album, Welcome to Strangeland, and by June 3rd, 2011, it's official. Mayday signs to Strange Music.
And this move, from the rooftop gorillas to Strange Music soldiers, it offered them stability. They released Take Me to Your Leader in March 2012. And again, look at the numbers. The key track Badlands, which had Tech N9ne on it, hit 500,000 views in just 2 months.
And the critics are loving it. The Miami New Times put out a list of the 50 best Miami bands of all time, and they rank Mayday at number 27.
Which is high praise.
They called them Miami rap's future. In a city with that much musical history, that's huge.
It is. But if we're talking about their peak mainstream visibility during this era, the moment where, your average listener might have heard them, we have to talk about Fragile.
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't just a Mayday song. It was this massive collaboration on Tech N9ne's album. You had Tech, Mayday, Kendall Morgan, and, Kendrick Lamar.
And this is 2013 Kendrick. This is Good Kid, M-A-A-D, City Eric Kendrick. He was ascending to, God-tier status.
So for Mayday, specifically, Wrekonize and Bernz to be on a track with him.
It's a career-defining moment. And they didn't just survive on the track. They thrived. The song is actually really deep. It's about the relationship between artists and critics, how fragile the artistic ego can be.
And it did numbers.
It did. It peaked at number 16 on the Bubbling Under Hot 100 and number 38 on the R&B charts. It proved that Mayday could hang with the absolute elite of lyricism. It wasn't just about the beat anymore. It was about the pen.
And while they were getting all this acclaim, they were just grinding on the road. They did the Something Else tour with Tech. They even formed a supergroup.
With the rapper Murs?
Yep. To form, wait for it, Murs Day.
Which is just great branding.
It really is. They dropped the Murs Day album in June 2014. They did an EP sponsored by Boost Mobile. It just felt like they were everywhere.
They were. But, as with any group that runs that hard for that long, the dynamic started to shift. It's hard to keep a 6-person band together forever.
Right. By 2015, things start to change. Plex Luthor, one of the co-founders we talked about, he leaves the group.
And the sources are really clear that it was on good terms, which is rare. This was right before they released the album Future Vintage. But still, losing a founder, it changes the DNA of a band.
For sure. Over time, the lineup kind of slimmed down to the current core trio, Bernz, Wrekonize, and NonMS. But they kept pushing. Search Party in 2017, South of 5th in 2018, they just stayed consistent.
However, the biggest structural change was still to come. And this is where the story circles back to that whole theme of independence and business savvy.
The date is May 1st, 2022.
The setting, Red Rocks, iconic venue.
Can you imagine the scene? You're on one of the biggest stages in the country, on tour with Tech N9ne. And you have to make an announcement that could, potentially alienate your fan base or your boss.
Rumors had been swirling. Fans notice when logos disappear from websites, So Mayday.
Yeah.
gets on the mic and addresses it. They confirm that, yes, they are parting ways with Strange Music.
But, and this is the fascinating twist, it wasn't a flip the table and storm out kind of situation.
No, not at all.
It was remarkably strategic. They announced they were forming their own label, Mayday Music.
But here's the kicker.
Yeah.
They're still working with Tech N9ne.
Exactly. This is the key insight for anyone listening who's business-minded. We need to distinguish between a record deal and a distribution deal.
Okay, break that down for us. So, a record label usually acts like a bank. They pay for the recording, the marketing, the videos.
Yep.
In exchange, they own the masters and take the lion's share of the profit.
Got it.
A distributor is different. Their logistics, they just make sure the music gets onto Spotify, Apple Music, and into stores.
So what did Mayday do?
Their new label, Mayday Music, is distributed by a company called It Goes Up Entertainment.
And It Goes Up is?
Strange Music's distribution arm.
Wow.
Precisely. So they gain creative ownership. They own their masters. They are the bosses. But they kept the logistical muscle and the pipeline of the empire they helped build. It's a very mature, have your cake and eat it too kind of business move.
And true to form, they didn't just announce it. They dropped music. They released the single Own Way that very same day.
Yeah, Ray. I mean, the title says it all, doesn't it?
It really does. And since then, they haven't slowed down at all. We saw Minute to Midnight in 2021. They dropped an EP in February 2024 called The Thinnest Line Part 3.
And looking at the most recent data from the source, they released a new studio album, Justice, on March 18th, 2025.
2025. So they are literally still at it over 20 years after starting out in that garage.
And that's what stands out when you look at their discography as a whole. Studio albums, EPs, mixtapes, solo albums, constant touring. They transitioned from a band that needed a label to a band that is the label.
So what does this all mean? Why should we care about a rap rock group from Miami if we aren't, a fan of that specific genre?
I think it's about resilience. It's about the art of the pivot.
How so?
Well, look at the timeline. They started in the CD era. They broke out in the early YouTube era before there was even a playbook for it. They thrived in the blog era with those Lil Wayne stunts. They survived the streaming transition while it strained.
And now they're in the independent artist entrepreneur era.
Exactly. They didn't just survive these changes, they used them. They bet on their own creativity every single time, whether it was sneaking onto a roof or restructuring their own contract to become owners.
It's a pretty inspiring story for anyone trying to create something of their own. You don't always need permission. Sometimes you just need a roof, a camera, and the willingness to look a little bit crazy.
Precisely.
So before we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a thought. We usually hear that to make it, you have to pick a lane, be a rapper or a rocker, be a viral star or a touring act.
Be a businessman or an artist.
Right. But Mayday did everything at once. They just refused to pick a lane. So here's the question for you to mull over. In an industry that is so fragmented now, does the story of Mayday prove that sticking to one thing is actually outdated advice?
Or is there 20-year survival proof that versatility, being able to do it all, is the only real safety net left in music? That's the million-dollar question. In a world of specialists, sometimes the generalist is the one still standing.
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you on the next one.